Today is May 3rd, 2025. This is the Klamath River just above where Jenny Creek comes in. Lots of cars and trucks up here today. Thought I'd come and see what everything was looking like. It's been a while since I've been able to get up here. You can see that things are blooming, growing. We've had a pretty wet winter. Had some flooding a few times this year. Oops, sorry, that was my hand. But none of the poppies are open today because there's no sun. It smells good though. But you can see that the soil is still pretty cracked, but stuff is growing. Not sure, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like during the summertime, but it is kind of pretty up here right now with all the flowers blooming. We had rain last night. We had rain last weekend. We have warmed up to like the 70s. Today's in the 50s. By midweek, we're supposed to be back in the 80s. I'm gonna pause it for a second. Kind of what it's looking like over here. Got out of the wind a little bit. I'm down in the rocks. And I'm below what they call the Narrows. So I'm making my way up to the Narrows. But you can see that there are lots of poppies up here. You can see where the edge of the lake used to be. So you can see all the poppies are closed. Alright, I'm going to pause it and head on down the road. So right now I'm right below the Narrows, or at the Narrows. Sounds like there's another car coming. I'm gonna pause it. Definitely busy up here today. There's been a lot of end dumps and cars coming and going, so I apologize if you hear them. But that would be where the Narrows are. And over there would be the old train trestle that you can see. And that would be looking up towards where Fall Creek comes in. The sun was supposed to be out today, but Mother Nature has its own plans, so it's going to be cloudy all day. Lots of poppies and flowers blooming. I definitely hear more wildlife up here than I have. I've heard lots of birds. Few places I've heard grasshoppers, but I haven't really heard those since I was down at the beginning of Iron Gate. Not sure if you guys can hear the birds. But you can still see the wood debris from the high flows that we've had. Most of it probably came from part of the restoration where they've placed the trees somewhere in the creek beds up above here. Could be from up at the J.C. Boyle area as well, or Topsy as it's also known as. And some of those other tributaries that they've put it in. still see that the ground is pretty cracked, I guess you could say. So I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna head on up the road. Okay, so this is at the narrow bluff. It's hard to tell really what the color of the Klamath River is today with the cloud cover from up here. I mean, you can see the white caps. It doesn't look chocolatey, at least the white caps don't. It's hard to really see the clarity from up here. This morning when I checked the gauge at the Iron Gate gauge, this morning at 9:15 it was at 3810 CFS. Every time I come up here though, looking at those bluffs, I always think that that rock formation or the formation that they make is so cool. You can see where the water level used to be when the lake was still here. This would be at the very east end of Iron Gate. I'm gonna pause it. So this is still at the Narrows on the east side of it. Looks kind of pretty with everything all nice and green and the flowers and the poppies. That's where the train trestle used to be. And that's the other side of it where it used to cross. It used to go down that direction. You can kind of see where it used to go back in the day. But you can see where the lake level used to be. Compared to where it's flowing at now. So I'm gonna pause it. This is kind of what it's looking like upstream. Walking past the tree. The wind has a bit of a bite to it. From here you can see where those timbers are. That was from the high flow event. I know when they released from Upper Klamath Lake, this was flowing pretty high. And I just realized there's some stuff growing. Not sure what that is. If you look over there as well, you can see some of what was planted or the grass clumps. It's hard to tell what it is from this side. right, I am going to pause it and head on up the road. Just for perspective, these are the flowers that are growing here, that are wild, been here. So this is on the other side of the road. All right, I'm gonna head on down the road. Just up river from where I was. There's actually a couple honkers down in here. I can hear one. There's one right there. But if you look, you can kind of see how cracked the ground still is. Things are still growing. Sorry, moving. This is below Fall Creek and just up above the Narrows, but you can kind of see like what we talk about, the clay type material that's cracking, the type of ground that's up here. The other honker, where's she at? She's right there. I don't know if you can see her. It's the first honkers I've seen up here today. But I'm assuming you can see like the ground type. You can see that there is stuff growing. Lots of birds up here. Haven't really seen or heard much for bees. This is how the Klamath is flowing today. This is kind of what this whole region looks like. See where the lake was. Definitely see the mountains are all nice and green too. So anyways, I'm going to head on up the road. So up around that bend is where Fall Creek comes in, and that's also up in the direction of like where Ward's Canyon would be. Not quite sure what they're doing right there. It's kind of hard to tell from here. But everything is nice and green with all the moisture that we've had. Some of it is kind of splotchy. It smells kind of good up here though. I haven't had that sour, putrid, death decay smell. I think with the rain that we've had and with things blooming, it's helped. And you can see where the lake used to be up there. I kind of wish the sun was out so we can kind of get a better idea what the water looks like. I'm gonna pause it and head on up the road. So I'm just up from where I was at. I'm gonna pause and head up a little bit further. This is just up from where I was at. I'm getting closer to Fall Creek. This would have been the eastern end of what used to be Iron Gate. As it comes into like the Klamath River where it narrows out and kind of starts entering into Ward's Canyon. Looks like they have a little day use area here now. Not quite sure what they're putting in. That's what I was looking at down there. Everything is pretty green. Gonna pause it. Looks like they're putting in a boat ramp, a boat launch. And of course this is not far from the picnic area. Oh, looks like there's something in the water. A bird. So it looks like they are developing this for a boat launch. So this is kind of where that boat launch area is that I was just videoing. That they're developing. This is right where Fall Creek comes in, which I'll show you kind of where that is from here. So that would be the culvert to Fall Creek. And that's where you would come in at. So that's what it's looking like from up here. Off to my next stop.